Evening, everybody, or afternoon, whatever side of the world you're on, and welcome to Paranormal In History's first ever show on the new Things Network. Sarah and myself, this is our first ever show, and we're really excited and proud to be here. And we have for our first ever guest, half of the duo. The other one's just coming. We have Kim from the Midnight Gypzies, and Jax is on our way very, very shortly. We've been reassured. So, as I say, thanks very much for coming in. We hope you're all doing well, and you're very welcome. So, thanks very much for coming in, Kim. It's good to sort of finally meet you face to face.
It's great to meet you. This is going to be a good show. I can't wait to talk to you.
There's Jax.
Let's see.
Somewhere there.
Am I in?
I hear you, girl. I hear you.
There it is. Hi, guys.
Yay, there she is.
Hiya, Jax. So,
Hi. How are you guys?
We're good. We're good. Thanks very much for coming in and joining us on our first ever show on the new network. We've been talking away to Kim. This is Sarah and I'm Scott. So it's really good to meet the both of you together now.
Nice to meet you too.
How did you all, Midnight Gypzies, you do podcasts and investigations, etc. As I said to Kim earlier, I've not researched a lot about you because I think it's always good to get fresh answers from the guests. And so, just to find out, where did you both start in the paranormal? How did it come about? Whoever wants to go first.
Well, Jackie, I'm going to let Jackie start because Jackie's been in it for a long, long time. I've only been in the paranormal for about 5 or 6 years, even though I had experiences as a kid, and that scared me to death. But I joined a team a few years ago, and I've been going out on investigations and doing videos and things. I'm an empath, so I can pick up on spirits and stuff. But I'm going to let Jackie start. And go ahead, Jackie. Tell us how you got started.
Well, it actually started for me when I was very young. I was about 4 years old, and I started actually seeing spirit. And it's something that runs in my family. And I would have dreams about dead family members. But shooting into like when I actually entered the paranormal, that was about 26 years ago. And I had just finally gotten to a place in my life where I decided that I wanted to use what my gifts were and share them with the paranormal. And it took me a really long time to finally get there. I was like kind of more quiet about it from the time I was about 4 until I was much, much older. I was probably in my 30s. And that's when I finally decided that I wanted to reach out and start going on investigations and start meeting people. And that's where everything kind of started for me. And then here I am years later. And so Kim and I met about actually a year ago this month in person. And then we started this podcast, Midnight Gypzies, and it's just grown like crazy. But I've had every experience you can imagine up all the way through to I've even had an attachment. And I didn't even actually believe in attachments for the longest time. But it actually happened to me a few years ago. And that has really changed my mind on how that all works. So
you're kind of similar to me. I've been into the paranormal for about 30 plus years, but
Wow.
Sarah and I only started this channel last July 2020. But I was always interested in the paranormal, like yourself, Jax. But never really done any. Like my first investigation was last year.
Oh, wow.
And so I've never actually done anything about it. You know, I just followed it. Watch the usual kind of ghost shows and horror films, all the usual kind of toys and whistles that you usually do. But yeah. I do know you've been about for quite a while, Jax. I saw your name pop up on my Facebook quite a bit. Jack's doing this, Jack's doing that. So you are quite a busy busy lady. So how did it start for you, Kim?
Well, like I said, I have a lot of experience as a kid and being kind of living in some haunted houses and having some experiences with ghosts, Ouija boards. As a kid, I was really heavily into the Ouija board. I kind of took to it naturally. And then, like Jack said, my family, I have family from Irish, English, Celtic roots, and also Native American, also Spanish and Mexican, things like that. So my mother's side of the family is really empathic and psychic. So growing up, I had these abilities, and it wasn't until a few years ago when I met this paranormal team here in Las Vegas and went out into these dark places where I was able to confront a lot of my fears and just what for anyone out there, just walking around in the dark and confronting your fears is an experience in itself. So I started documenting, I started recording, making videos, listening to the evidence and documenting it. And spirit was really coming through my videos. And I was able to get a lot of answers and things like that. So I was fascinated by it. But like I was telling you before the show started, was and the team that I joined here in Las Vegas actually had a couple of vampires on there. And so I was drawn into some kind of a weird world. And there was also a werewolf type, person that was associated with werewolves and cryptids. And so I was pulled into this really weird realm, and I was having some experiences. I was getting attacked. And so I had to try to figure that out. And so having been through those negative experiences, I wanted other people to know what's out there. So when Jackson and I started this podcast, my goal was to share with others about what could happen out there when you're investigating and coming across these things. And so my biggest goal is to help teach, and then anything that I can learn and share, I'm all for it. And then, so just like when we have these podcasts and, the newcomers come and they listen, I want to lead these people in the right direction and help protect them, help give them the skills they need, because I wasn't trained at all. In fact, this, when a lot of people, they join these teams and they're not trained and they're learning some bad, ways to investigate. And so we're trying to now with our podcast, pull everyone together, teach everybody, and help this be a more positive experience where we all learn together and then grow together. And so I'm really thankful and proud to be on your show tonight.
It's a real pleasure for us to have you on. But is that what you're saying there about the podcast, Kim? It is a good way. There is a lot of, no disrespect to them, there's a lot of teenagers out there, young people who maybe watch too many ghost shows and, maybe a 40-minute ghost show, and then they think, right, let's go to a cemetery and hunt for ghosts. Yeah. And they don't really have a clue what they're doing. But podcast to us, as you just said as well, is a good way to teach people, for people to learn. As I say, I've been in the paranormal for 30-something years, but since we started doing the podcast, the amount that I've learned in the last 12, 14 months has been out of stuff I would never even have known. Just be sitting down and talking to people. And because to me, it is, a lot of people think paranormal investigating is just, getting a camera, getting a torch, going to a graveyard and asking if there's anybody there. But to us, podcasts are just as important as doing your investigations.
Yes.
What do you think of that? Do you think it's just as important, or do you think the actual investigation is more kind of important?
Jackie, do you want to answer that? I think Jackie might have froze up. There you are, Jackie.
You guys are going out. I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Okay, so
excuse me, guys. I'm fighting a bad sinus infection.
When people started out in the paranormal, even before the podcast, they weren't getting any training and they were putting themselves in dangerous situations. And now with all these podcasts, like you say, we can share information and people can come to learn. And that way, so I think you had mentioned, they're looking at these ghost adventure shows and they're just trying to go out there and imitate the ghost adventures. And we talk about this all the time. There's more to it than that. Right, Jackie? Do you have anything to say about that, about these podcasts, how important they are for teaching?
Yeah, actually, Kim and I we talk about this a lot on our show, actually, because we encourage people who want to come into the paranormal to find people or a team that is willing to take you on and teach you from the get-go. We don't just thrown out there.
Jackie, you have a bad signal where you're at. She's trying to say is a lot of people get thrown out there when they join these teams.
So hand you equipment and they just say, okay, go.
Jackie, you're frozen again. What she's trying to say is you'll join these teams and they'll give you equipment and they'll say, just go out there. And you have a lot of people talking over each other. You have a lot of talking, making noise, and things like that. And so these podcasts are definitely good for education.
I know exactly what you mean. George puts out a comment there. I'll just put it back. I think we've lost Jax briefly. Kim, as people seem to forget that anything can happen at any given time. I suggest people protecting themselves before investigating. I do enjoy the thrill of investigating, but even myself, get to ground myself.
You need to kick that one out first and add that one.
Right. Bear with me, folks. Jax is trying to get back in.
No, you need to kick it, click the few wee things. I'll do it.
We're trying to get Jax back in. Sorry about this. There we go. There she's back.
There you are.
My internet, everybody's internet went out on me. Are we all back?
I think we're all back, yeah. We lost you briefly, but you're back, so it's all good. It's all good. But the other thing about podcasts, as I was saying before, about live is...
So I was just trying to add that exactly what Kim was saying.
It's a good way to keep the paranormal community together, keep people talking, keep people interacting, especially since, what's been going on the last...
Can you guys hear me okay?
Year and a half. Yeah, you're a little bit breaky up, but we can hear you.
Well, it's true what you say is that it keeps people together. It keeps us connected. And it's so important to reach out to each other. And we find that our podcast, we can get people on there that, they really have something to say and they really have something to share. Now, not everybody can do a video. Not everyone can put their evidence out like that. But when you come onto a podcast, it's a good place to share your evidence in a way that, people can do.
Yeah. I think we've lost Jax again.
Yeah, there's a place in her apartment where she doesn't get good signal. She's going to have to move. She's going to have to move to another room.
We do apologise for this, but it's the internet really is. My old flat was the same. If I went out of my bedroom, my signal was absolutely atrocious. If I went in to the living room, it was perfect. But
inside of the bed, you would get a signal, but you had to really stretch your phone over.
That's right. One half of the bedroom you get a signal. The other half of the bedroom you wouldn't get a signal in the same room. Get Jackson a wee minute to get settled down. So Midnight Gypsies, who thought up the name? Because it is quite a cool
Midnight
name.
Gypsies. Well, the reason why we wanted gypsies in there because Jax and I have similar family growing up where we moved around a lot. Like my mom moved us around every single year, and we felt like gypsies. And in fact, one of my nicknames was Gypsy growing up, and Jax as well. Their family moved around a lot too. But the thing about gypsies is it's kind of a play off of Egyptian. And so I'm really into the Egyptians. I've had past lives as an Egyptian, and Jackie has too. So we actually have ties together in Egypt from prior lives. And then we picked Midnight because I don't know why we picked Midnight.
Well, can you guys hear me okay now?
Yeah,
okay.
perfect.
So originally we were a completely different name, and we decided we wanted to go with something that was still representing the paranormal, yet represented something more about us personally. And we thought Midnight was something that connected to the paranormal, and Gypsies was more about us. And the more and more we talked to each other and got to know each other, we realized that our lives are very connected. And we even believe that our past lives probably are very connected. So I actually went under hypnosis one time. This was years ago. I was probably in like maybe my mid-20s. And I didn't remember any of it when it happened, when I came out of it, but people were telling me about it. And they actually had a video of it. And unfortunately, that video ended up in a fire. But I was talking about being an Egyptian queen. And I had this entire Egyptian life. And so later, years later, I'm talking to Kim, and she's like, I have this Egyptian past. And it was just like, wait a minute, hold on. So we have very much, I think, connected in several lives, Kim and I, and continue to stay very connected in that way. But yeah, that's a big, big part of why we decided to go with the name. Plus, Gypsy was, like Kim said, a big part of how we grew up. We moved around all the time, and my mom used to call us gypsies. Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't grow up in some kind of gypsy-like style family, but that's just what she called us. Mm-hmm. So it just made sense to us. And as soon as we said it, we were like, oh my God, that's it. We're Midnight Gypsies.
That's a good name.
And we wanted to incorporate other things besides ghosts. So we wanted to incorporate the entire paranormal realm. So that's why we chose that name.
Yeah.
It does grab your attention. You know, when you see a post Midnight Gypsies, you kind of, that sounds, they sound kind of, I know everybody uses the word. It's actually a word I hate, interesting. I think everybody uses the word interesting, but when you see the kind of name, you think, I'm going to give them a little look sort of thing. So your podcast, what was your very early podcast like when you first started out doing your interviews or chats?
Actually, our first season was amazing. It's kind of funny. Most people start their podcasts off with they'll put their friends on, and they'll have, local people come on, and just people locally in the paranormal that they know nearby. And we were like, let's just go for, the gusto. And we started reaching out to everybody on TV shows and, famous mediums. And we just had an absolute blast doing our first season. And we're at the tail end of season 2 right now. I think we only have maybe 2 or 3 shows left, and then we're done with season 2. And we're already planning season 3. But yeah, season 1 was amazing. It was a huge hit.
Well, let's tell them about the walk with the Warrens. So we had this this vision that each time we do a podcast, we'd have a little segment, and we'd teach them about the Warrens. So we would actually do our research, and we would get on there and we'd talk about things like the White Lady and orbs and whatever the Warrens were teaching, because I wanted to lay down a foundation so that if people ever started and went back to the beginning, they're actually going to learn a lot of different skills and a lot of different things that we felt were important to get out there. So we had some segments called Walking with the Warrens. Do we have any other ones?
I know every once in a while we'll do like a show where we'll actually like play something. And one time we did that with the Warrens documentary, and that was really interesting. We like to keep it very lighthearted, but yet serious. We like to have a lot of fun with it. You know, people come into the paranormal. Sometimes they want to do a podcast and they want things to be so everything's the norm for the rules of the paranormal. And Kim and I are like, there are no rules. You know, there is no dress code. There are no rules. There are no real answers. No one has all the answers. And at the end of the day, we just love to do whatever we feel like talking about. We love having amazing and interesting guests of all kinds. We actually have someone coming on tonight, Dr. Roberts, who's going to be talking about UFO information. And so I'm very much into everything crypto. Cryptozoology is a huge part of my life, and Kim too. So we talk about aliens, Bigfoot. And I know every once in a while I'll mention on the show, I don't really talk about it that often, but I'm the founder of West Coast Squatcher. So I also go look for Bigfoot, and I'm trying to drag Kim out into the woods. But we just have a lot of fun.
You see, that's the thing, Jack. You know, as you says, you know, when you see your season 1, it's quite similar to Sarah and I, the way we started out last year. You know, we kind of started at the wrong time, but the right time. I know that sounds nuts. You know, we started out and we only got maybe 3-4 investigations done before restrictions came in. So that was it. You know, we all we had was the channel, and we had friends and that on. And then I thought, you know, I'm going to go for the big guns. You know, I'm just going to go, and I'm just going to. And people used to say, like, we had Patty Negri on way back, and she's a regular. But people used to say, "How did you get Patty Negri?" Because we're just, you know, a small channel from a wee town in Scotland. We stay in a town called Kilmarnock. And we're not a major TV channel or anything. And people say, how did you get, you know, Patty Negri? I say, well, I mailed her.
Well, you know, we had Patty on our show, and she's amazing. And people, they think that you can't reach out and that you can't talk to these people and that they're not going to want to be on your show. And that's not true at all. She's a wonderful person. We love Patty. We've had nothing but amazing people come on our show. Not one person has ever said no to us coming on. Yeah. So, you know, all you have to do is reach out.
We have reached out to a lot of different people, and they've always said yes. So,
always.
One thing that I can tell you about the paranormal field is everyone's open and fun. They're in it for fun. They want to meet everybody. Like, I'm really interested with you folks in Scotland and England and things like that. So I think this is an honor.
Absolutely.
I've already said that, but this is definitely an honor.
Oh, absolutely. You know, for me, you guys, it boils down to keeping it positive, keeping it fun. Yes, there is a serious side to it, but if you're not having fun, then what's the point of it? And at the end of the day, for me and Kim, and I think you and as many people as I know there are a lot of people out there who do have issues with other people. We just tend to try to push that aside, and we keep everybody all inclusive. We don't leave anybody out, including people who might talk crap about us or hate on us. It's like, hey, you're welcome as much as anybody else to come watch our shows, meet us, enjoy our show, come to the Para Unity we're going to be at. We don't leave anybody out.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. It's coming together.
Exactly. As you said, just go back to the fun side, but you still make it serious. I've watched, we watched a few shows, no disrespect to them, I'm not going to name it, but you sit there and it's so uniform, it's so you know,
Scripted almost.
scripted, and after about 20 minutes, you're kind of, no, I'm going to go and make a bit of toast or something, basically. I'm going to go and boil 5 kettles just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Basically, and so you need to have that fun bit, and you can have a laugh. And even in investigations, you go in an investigation, have a bit of fun, have a laugh,
Have
be
fun.
relaxed.
That's right. It doesn't have to all be serious.
No, as I say, Sarah says scripted. That's a perfect word for it. I think, no, I'm not watching this. But if you go on a podcast and you're sitting watching, and the people are talking about the paranormal, or history, whatever it is, and they're sitting there and they're having a laugh and a giggle, and they're still doing what it brightens up, brightens up your, it brightens up the show. I forgot the word for it there. It brightens up the show, especially after the kind of last year and a half that we've had. I think everybody needs that big kind of
lift each other up with happiness. At the end of the day, like I said, it is literally about having fun, enjoying yourself. This is a part of us that I think most of us, this is a passion. This is passion for us. Like, we all have something that we desire to do this. And if you're not enjoying yourself, then you shouldn't be in it.
Hey, Jax, tell them about, so Jax is kind of unique. She started to do the events. She would put together events. And I think in the beginning, the paranormal was more formal. Would you say it was a little bit more formal?
I would definitely say it was in the beginning. It wasn't the same. For me, it was like over time, building relationships is what makes it special, because that's the main reason why I love putting myself out there and doing those events, because the more people you meet, the more relationships you build. And then it's easier to reach out to those people and say, hey, let's go do this event. Let's go, investigate together. Come be on my show, or whatever the circumstances are. And it's a huge part of why I am still in the paranormal to this day, because of all the amazing people that I have met along the way. There has been little tiny bits of pieces of things that have happened, but I'm a very forgiving person. I let things go and I put things behind me, and I think, life is short and it's not important. Let it go, move on, and enjoy what I'm doing. And, we're having an absolute blast. We love coming on and doing shows. I mean, like Kim said, this is a huge honor for us. We hope one day we can come visit you guys and investigate in person.
Well, that'd be good. We're always here. We're not going anywhere. We're always going to be here, But as you say, that is the paranormal is so approachable. People in the paranormal are so approachable. Even the big, like the big guns, the big names, whatever. And it is good to sit down and meet all these different people, and it's a good way of learning. And I've certainly learned Kim, you were talking about the Ouija board, a short time ago. So see, I've been in the paranormal a long time, and it's the one thing I swore I would never ever try is the Ouija board. I think I'd maybe watched too many movies about it, and I thought, not having it. But we work closely with a team down in England, and one of the guys in the team, he's been into the Ouija board for about 30 years. And I made a deal with him some months ago saying, I will try the Ouija board. And I actually tried the Ouija board 2 weeks ago. We went to Nottingham.
Oh, you did?
I tried. We were invited down to Sherwood Forest in Nottingham to film with this team. And when I got down there, he says, right, you're here. You did agree to do the Ouija board, so we're going to get you on camera doing it. And it was quite an experience. I would do it again.
Really?
I definitely. I would give it another go, as long as there was somebody else there who knew what they were doing. So that's what I was going to ask you, Kim, about I know you like the Ouija board. Have you ever had any experiences that maybe kind of put you off it a little bit, or made you kind of think twice?
So I remember being a very young girl learning how to do that. And but I come from a family where my grandmother on my mom's side would do spirit writing, and she would tell us as a kid, she would write on the tables that her family would do seances and the tables would move, and she would take rides on the tables. So it was just kind of accepted or natural on my mom's side of the family. And then I spoke to my mom a couple of months ago, and yeah, her mother was heavily involved into the Ouija board and seances and things. And then my mom got into it, but my mom's the one that had the bad experiences. I never did, apparently. Nothing really ever affected me in that way. All I knew is I was good at it, and I just felt like so what it feels like when you're using the Ouija board, it just feels like you are channeling. Basically, you open yourself up and you let spirit channel through you. And as long as you're not afraid, it can come through. But if you're afraid, I would say don't do it. For some reason, if you're going to be afraid, don't do it. I don't know if that's just open you up for maybe negative energies if you're fearful. But I never had anything bad come through. I wasn't afraid of it growing up. It was just something that we just did. What about you, Jackie? Did you ever do the?
It's funny because I knew very, very early on that I had unusual spirit connection. They would actually come to me, and I'll share very quickly my very first paranormal experience on here. I've talked about it a few times, but it's not like the normal paranormal experience. Most people say, oh, I thought I saw a black figure or something. Mine was very, very different. I was about 4 or 5 years old. I was actually coming home from school, and I got off the school bus. And just as I took a couple steps off the bus, there was an older gentleman in this little, and I remember it like it was yesterday, in this little silver Volvo. Now, this is back in like 1975, okay? And so I remember looking over at him, and it was very odd because I remember the window was down, and he talked to me and said, Jackie, come get in the car. And it was very weird. Normally a child at that age would be freaked out and think, oh God, there's someone trying to kidnap me or something. But the feeling of it was so calming and comfortable, like I knew him. Mm-hmm. So I didn't think twice. I got in the car, and I remember we talked, and it seemed, the weird thing was I literally lived right around the corner, but I remember the conversation going on, and it seemed like an hour of us talking and talking. And then he pulled up to the front of my house, and I remember opening the door to get out. And I said, aren't you going to come in and say hi to my mom and dad? And he said, no. He said, I'll catch them next time. Just give them my love. So I remember him, I knew who he was. I'm assuming he must have told me his name, because the minute I walked in the house, I immediately told my parents, and my parents freaked out, thought some crazy person was trying to kidnap me, called the cops. I was explaining to them in detail of who he was, what we talked about, told them that no, he wasn't trying to take me. He's a family member. And so my dad immediately went to the bedroom and gets this photo album out, opens the photo up, and my dad had a huge family, and there was this picture of about 30 people in it. And I pointed to him immediately, and I said, that's him right there. That's him. That's Uncle Ben. And my mom and dad just looked at each other, and my dad said, honey, that's not possible. He died a year before you were born. So that's how the paranormal started for me. And I know that's very, very unusual, but that's exactly how everything started. And after that, I started seeing all my family members that had passed.
So that's the thing. We were actually, one of the ladies in the chat, and Nadine, she was on with one of our team the other night, and we were talking, somebody came up, have you ever seen a ghost? And I thought, well, I've been asked that, I can't really honestly answer that, because what does a ghost actually look like? there's that many different, as I said the other night, the white sheet with the holes, and then the transparent image, or the solid body, or the mist kind of thing. Yeah. Well, who knows if you've actually seen a ghost? So as you say, Jax, that the man that you seen looked totally normal.
He looked like I'm sitting here looking at you. To me, he didn't look. He in no way, shape, or form looked like see-through or different than any other human being to me. He just looked like a older, man just sitting there. And the weird thing is, I have seen him multiple times throughout my life. I have unfortunately been in some really horrible accidents, and every single time something horrible has happened to me, he has been there.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I tell Kim this all the time. I'm actually thinking about writing a book. So many interesting things have happened.
You should. Write them down. I've got a question for you, for Nadine. Get the lady was just talking about. What do you guys think is the difference between asking a spirit to talk through a spirit box versus a Ouija board? To me, you're still asking communication.
Yeah.
Communication.
What did you say there?
I don't know what I said there. It was the communication, communication or something.
Well, for me, I've never actually used a Ouija board. That's been one of the only things in all of the paranormal I have never wanted to use. There's something about it that makes me feel like it's going to bring something negative to me. And I've just always, chosen to stay away from it. So I've never used one.
Yeah, I can tell you the Ouija board, you definitely become an open door. You're just a doorway now, and things can just come in and out. Because you're not taught, you just think it's a game, and you're not taught to close the door or anything like that. That's just opens a door and whatever can come in. Because after that, I did start seeing things and hearing things, and I was scared to death. I was even hearing noises, and I definitely had channeled things in.
Right.
But nothing ever, I don't know. My mom was a very powerful woman, and she was able to just lead us away from all of that. She just kept things in check. But with the spirit box, my ex used to make those, and so we used to play with those all the time. And he would go on investigations, and he was always getting attacked. And they would come through the box, and they would always tell him to be careful, and they would tell him to watch out and things. Well, when I did a little investigation on why he was getting attacked, was because he was the one that was tuning in, doing the dials, and it's actually a disturbance for the spirit world, and they actually get very annoyed, and so they pointed their aggression towards him because he was the one. And so when you build this device and it becomes a part of you, and the mechanics, you are kind of being a channel as well. And so they're similar, but with the spirit box, you can hear them talking to you. So instead of just being in the dark like you are with the Ouija board, you're literally in the dark. But with the spirit box is you become aware of who's actually talking to you, who's around, and things like that. So I believe the spirit box is way more of a powerful tool. If you're going to do it, do the spirit box. If you're afraid at all, don't do the Ouija board, because you won't know what's coming.
I've been way too open my entire life to want to take that chance. For me, the Ouija board was just a no. I've seen way too many people and heard way too many people say that they had activity and things, it started happening in their home. They had activities all of a sudden starts happening in their home, even attachments. And I don't want to invite that. I try to keep everything light and on the lighter side of life. And yes, I do believe that there is a darker side to the paranormal, But if I can keep it away from me, that's what I want.
I do. You tried the Ouija board when you were younger, didn't
Aye,
you?
I was very stupidly one of the teenagers that messed around with it when we were kind of under the influence, and it didn't kind of end too well.
I didn't agree with you.
No.
No.
Kind of all. Put it this way, we've never ran so much in our life.
That's the thing, the Ouija board, I got a couple of comments to put up, but just the Ouija board, when I did it, say, I vowed never ever to touch it, but I did, Sherwood Forest, I felt quite calm and peaceful doing it. We only done it for about 10, maybe 15 minutes. So it wasn't a major session, but I felt quite calm and peaceful doing it. And after it, I'm totally fine. Laura makes a good point. The same as the demonic total.
No, I think Ouija boards, because I used to I did the Ouija board by myself after the other kids didn't want to do it anymore. I was so good at it that I would do it by myself, and literally it would move. And I don't know, I think it opens you up for more things like tarot card reading and divination and psychic abilities and things like that, because it's just you opening up to the energy and like, you know what I mean? Opening you up to the spirit world. So
yeah, for me, it's just, I have a point where I just have to kind of like say that's too much for me, because if certain things come up, if I'm at an investigation or someone wants to use a certain tool, for example, the Ouija board, I will remove myself, because I think when you have special gifts, it's a little too much for certain people. And I feel, and that I start getting bombarded with spirit. And it's like, I think they take advantage of knowing that, okay, we're here now and we know you have the ability to speak to us and see us. So they come after you. And the people who are doing it are like, oh, I'm not even affected. And I'm in another room and I'm still affected. So sometimes I just have to remove myself from the property.
Just go home, basically. A good point with you were saying earlier on.
Sometimes I just have to leave, yeah.
So there's an incident with the man you see. If I take a picture of my 22-year-old son every time a blue orb appears. But that's the thing to us, we think, spirit can appear in any form it wants to, and it can always be around you. You might not notice it, it might not make itself known to you, but it can always be around you. Nadine says it's good that you know your limits. One of my team members, Sam, won't touch a Ouija board, and I respect that.
Yes, you have to know your limits. That's absolutely right. You, as an individual who has any special gift, you can be a medium, sensitive, you can call yourself whatever you want, but if you have any gifts of that spirit can connect with you, and they can actually come in and they can bring others. And sometimes, and I have in the past had an issue where I would open myself up more in the past than I do now. Now I have basically I have to limit myself to how long I will do it, and sometimes even where I will do it, because I know there are locations that I have had more problems than I want to go home with. So you got to be careful.
So we've just finished filming in a location, and it's kind of opened my eyes anyway. Some of the evidence that we got, I think it opened Sarah's eyes as well, didn't it?
Yeah.
Some of with this distinct DVP that was picked up. Some of the girls heard sharp intakes of breath. I never heard them.
That was crazy.
But and some of the girls heard them. And that's the next thing I was going to ask you. Do you think that maybe you say you get a room of 10 people and only there's a distinct voice comes over and only one person hears it? Do you think spirit can direct itself to an individual person?
Yes.
And just make itself heard to that one person.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. I think that, and I'll answer really quickly, and then I'll let Jackie. I think that certain people have like more light or more energy or brighter spirit or an aura. So I think maybe certain spirits might be attracted to that person, or maybe somebody else has a certain vibration. Maybe somebody's angry or somebody's aggressive.
Yeah.
So whatever, I believe that any spirit in that's around you is going to attract to what it's most like. So it could be anybody. What do you think, Jackie?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it really honestly depends on how open you are, how much you're allowing yourself to open up to it. I know a lot of people will walk into an investigation and they're not fully, completely allowing themselves to open up to what's around them. It's kind of what I call surface paranormal, where it's like they walk in and they just do. They're just there to do the investigation, but some people will meditate before they go in. They'll actually open themselves up and invite whatever is in there. So I think it just depends on the individuals of like how much they are willing to do that, and how in tune they are to spirit is a big part of it. So for people like myself and Kim who have those abilities, it is a lot easier. And as a matter of fact, she was talking about that spirit box. Her ex-boyfriend and I were actually on an investigation, and he brought one of those spirit boxes, and it kept repeating over and over and over. It would say, Jackie is a medium. Jackie is a medium, like over. And it was like it just wanted to validate to the family that we were with. And everyone just kept looking at me, and I'm like, well, I mean, it was in a woman's voice too, which was really weird because we were connecting with the man prior, and it completely changed. So it's very interesting, but yeah, I think it all boils down to how much you allow yourself to open up to another realm.
I think it depends as well how you conduct your investigation. If it's like light-hearted and you've got a bit of laughing and joking going on, I think spirit's more attracted to you.
Absolutely. 100%.
Rather than, I mean, we've had a couple of rude spirits. There was one investigation we done maybe 2 months ago, and it was like beep. I'll let Sarah tell you.
No, you can't. It was but Sarah is, they said my name, which was totally freaked me out. They said Sarah is a two-faced beep.
BITCH.
Oh my gosh.
Clear as day. And it was F off, FU.
Super friendly.
I really, kind of guy you like to sit down and have a cup of coffee with.
And
basically.
then a couple of weeks ago, we were doing an investigation at a location, and there was a flight of stairs, and I would never got these stairs, and then the spirits kept coming through saying like I was to go up the stairs. That's every time I went, they kept saying up the stairs, up the stairs. So I eventually went up the stairs, and I said, right, you've got me up the stairs. What do you want me up here for? And it just turned and said murder. And I was like, oh, that's nice, that, isn't it?
But
yeah,
we felt that time that the spirit, whoever he was, she was just playing games.
Yeah.
Do you think that sometimes they just like to be like pranksters, basically?
Yeah.
And
it's funny because sometimes the absolute best evidence I will get at an investigation is when I am just chatting with my friends and we're joking and we're just doing our regular everyday stuff, and we're not really investigating. We're just kind of standing there and we're just like talking about whatever, and maybe one of us will start laughing, and I think it has to do with like our energy, and they feed off of like our happiness and all the happy energy that we have around us. And I think they enjoy it because we literally get more evidence, we get amazing EVPs, I mean, it blows my mind, and it'll always be when you're not doing like an investigation where you're trying to be quiet or you're trying to be serious, and I think they just really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I've been on investigation where we just had the cameras going and the video recorders, and we were just talking with the owners of the tattoo parlor or whatever that we were at. We were just talking with them, and the entities were just coming through loud and clear. And then when we finally decided to go into the investigation, that's when the activity started. That's when the negative, they turned more aggressive once they knew we were actually tuning into them. They turned more aggressive, and then you had the protective spirits coming through as well. So you could hear the what was going on, the protective, and then the aggressive ones. So when you were just going in there and acting normal and just chatting, you will pick up a lot.
You're curious about us.
Well, I've got a couple of questions for you there, girls, just when I put them up. But I always say, I've seen this in many a live, and people can believe me. To me, a spirit is just the exact same as us, except no physical body. They've still got a personality, sense of humour. Or if they were grumpy in this life, they'll be grumpy. And the next, we take everything with us, apart from the body, basically. And so if you had a spirit in this life that was a bit of a jokester, a bit of a prankster, it'll still be the same on the other side. If that makes it, that's the way I look at it. Everything goes with us except the body. Gail's wanting to know, Jax, have you ever get scared of a negative spirit with being a medium?
Scared or negative spirits? Yes. Yes, I do. Sometimes some things do come into my life, and unfortunately, I have two younger children, and they're starting to experience. I used to think it was just my son, and just recently, my daughter started telling me, she's 8, my son's 13, and she just started telling me that she's starting to see spirit herself. I used to think that, and it's funny because I think most people think this, is that people live in haunted houses. I no longer believe in haunted houses. It's the people that are haunted. And the reason why I say that is because it's once you're connected with spirit, spirit will always follow you. And it won't always be the same spirit. There'll be spirits come, spirits go. But sometimes they're good and sometimes they're bad. But I actually lived in a house. This was about 13, maybe like 12, 13 years ago. I moved into this house down in the South. And from day one, I started having really negative activity. I stayed in this house for 4 years, and it was 4 years too long. Let me just tell you that. We had all kinds of negative activity. We would hear voices, creepy little girls laughing, like scary, creepy laughing. I would feel someone touch my back, rub their hand down my back. We had all kinds of weird things happening. I would hear like a cowboy boots walking down my hall. It would scare me to death. And I was at home alone with my baby. So, and our house was locked down and nobody could get in. But yeah, this went on for 4 years. And yes, during the time that I lived there, that was probably the scariest time I ever had a spirit around me that scared me. Yes.
Yeah, I've had from the Goldfield High School, you have to be careful because sometimes the people you go with, they're doing mischievous things. Yep. And they're actually are people that join teams to feed off of energy and to manipulate energy and to go to these places and do nefarious things. So you got to be really careful who you are investigating with. That's number one for me. And so after going home from an investigation where people were arguing and competing with each other on the team, I brought something home that started affecting me. And then finally, when my grandbaby was looking at things behind me and pointing at things, I realized that something had followed me home. So that's pretty scary when you know that you're actually bringing things home into environments where you don't want that to happen. So that's kind of when I stopped, was because of my grandbaby, and then things started happening in the household to where people were getting pushed, things like that I stopped. But it didn't, just because I stopped paranormal investigating didn't mean that stuff stopped. In fact, when I stopped, things got worse. And even when I started moving, things got worse and worse and worse and worse. And so those are the kind of things that I'm trying to understand. And those are the kind of things that I want to bring and help others understand as well, because those are the things that, we don't know we don't realize what we're doing when we go out there, and then what we're bringing home,
Exactly.
and not that I'm scared of it. I'm scared of affecting my family members.
Yeah, exactly. I know there's teams out there, no disrespect to anybody, but there is teams, and there are people in it that just go out they're on their own agenda. They've seen a couple of horror movies and they want to go out and they want to provoke a spirit.
That's
but
right.
They don't realise the other side of the coin, basically, that if they provoke a spirit, then it can go home with them, and it can do all sorts of, damage mentally, physically, whatever. She's been scratched at Greyfriars before. These things can do physical harm to you, but a lot of people don't believe that. So as you said, Kim, you need to be careful who you go to investigate. You need to be able to trust who you go to. They're not out just for I don't know what you call it, a thrill trip, whatever. I've watched 10 horror movies. I'm going to go out and try and, because these things can affect you. We're lucky enough that we've never actually been affected. There was one investigation we did, and after it, I'm a Glaswegian. I'm Scottish. I'm a Glaswegian. We're quite laid back. Nothing really bothers us, basically. But there was one investigation we done, and after it, I kept it to myself, but I was quite agitated, and if I thought I wanted to punch somebody, it wore off.
Oh, wow.
I'm never like that. Usually
Was that Canongate?
It can change your mood. It can change how you act.
Yeah.
Was that not the night I ran away with you?
It was. We went to Canongate in Edinburgh, and there was this, as soon as we went in the gate, there was this heavy feeling that we weren't wanted. Staying back to the car.
No, I stayed, remember, because me and my brother were taking pictures, and I was kind of kneeled down on the path, and I had the church in front of me, and I just seen this black shadow go right, as if somebody was walking by, and I was like, right, I'm off.
And we're done.
But I went for a walkabout. I went to the cabin and went for a walkabout the graveyard,
Yeah.
But after it, I was just, I want to punch somebody. Just, I don't know why, just very, very agitated. But it wore off, it didn't last all night. It did graduate. So you do have to be careful with these things, as you say, ladies. Nadine's got another wee question for you.
Threaten. Well, can I ask, threaten in what way, Nadine?
Okay.
If Nadine can cut that off, open.
Just to add something to what Nadine just said, sometimes people can have an attachment and not be aware of it. For instance, I had an attachment for about 2 months. I was clueless. You would think I'd be the first person to know. I went into a horrible depression. I felt nothing but negative, cried all the time. This went on before I finally called a friend and reached out and got help and had it, removed. But she could have something that she's not even aware of attached to her, and that may be what they're responding to.
That's very true. Very true. I think that's a great answer. She, she could also be like very angelic, and then there might be dark things that don't like that light. I mean, it could be a number of things, but like Jackie said, it very well could be an attachment that they're talking to or threatening.
I would probably ask you, Nadine.
Right here. Here's what she says. It says, "You are filth. You will die. To kill her." Oh. Wow.
Okay. I would definitely say it's probably time to go reach out to someone who can help you. It sounds to me like you definitely have some kind of attachment that they're responding to. Yeah. I don't think it has anything to do with you personally. But if they're talking to you like that, I would definitely reach out to a Reiki master or someone that, can help you. But if you're definitely getting responses like that, there's something else going on. It has nothing to do with you personally. Yeah, that's interesting.
Just we were talking about bringing something home. Gail's mum came out with us. Gail's one of our team. She came out with us one night and after she went home, and there was weird things happened to her. But I spoke to one of my friends down in England, who gave her advice and everything seemed to calm down. So, Gail's mum's proof that stuff can follow you home, basically. This is a comment for Laura.
Yeah, I think the reason why when we touch wood, a couple of different reasons. There's oils in trees, and trees are very sacred, and wood items come from trees, and so you could get in contact with the pine oils and different oils from wood. And also wood is it's a interdimensional, it's like a medium between the worlds, and so you're kind of giving it to that so it can transduce or whatever, so you can give it to the wood.
Right.
And the wood can take the spirit and go.
Well, exactly what Kim's saying. And to add to that is people forget that the earth is life. Trees are life. The ground is life. Everything is growing around you. You are surrounded by life and energy. And people have a tendency to forget. Some people, you can look at a tree, you don't think that tree has life or feelings or whatever, but that's not true. It's surrounded and it's growing with life, and so
it's grounded. It's grounded. And a lot of people that have attachments need to go get grounded.
Yeah,
so that the energy can leave them. It's like a live wire. It's like a telephone wire that breaks, and it's just going around like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like sometimes, like when you go to an investigation and there's you're surrounded by certain things that connect you to the world and to water and limestone and just, all these different things. And a lot of times, a lot of people don't do this. I personally do this a lot, but sometimes if it's safe enough, I will go investigate barefoot because I'm connecting myself to the entire world. I am literally connecting to the ground, to the earth, to everything around me as a full circle. And I don't think a lot of people think about that because I'm putting myself in my most raw, place that I can be in as a human being by connecting myself to the earth, to the world, to everything around us, the energy. And that has a lot to do with how I connect with everything.
Well, it's called being grounded, and definitely go out in nature, put your feet on the grass or in the water, and things like that. And that'll remove a lot of that negativity.
That's right.
And just you're right. I mean, we walk by trees every day of the week, walk through forests, plants, and you don't actually give them a second thought.
Nope.
But they are living things, you know. That Laura put a comment up earlier on. This is a weird one, and I always mean to ask people about it, but I always forget. So I'm kind of glad she popped it up. Just Scott, your car continue. Laura's in our team, and she's in our car quite a wee bit. When she sits in the back seat of the car, the alarm always goes off for the middle seat. The seatbelt's not on.
But it's only when she's in the car.
It's only when she's in the car this happens.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Sounds like you have a passenger.
well, see, that's what it feels like. You know, I can't explain it, you know, because I don't know if somebody's following Laura about, because, you know, obviously we get families sitting the kids in the back seat of the car and all the rest of it. Never happens. As soon as Laura sits in, bang, the alarm, and it's a bit of a running joke now, where, so it is, I think it kind of freaks her out.
It's not as if she puts a bag or a jacket or anything in the middle seat that would set the sensor off. There's nothing in the middle seat, it just randomly goes off.
And we can't explain it.
Oh, that's crazy. I have to tell you a really funny, well, it's not fun. It's funny to me, but it's maybe not funny to everybody. But I was actually on a trip one time and I was by myself and I had somehow veered off into this really weird town and got lost. And I got really, really nervous. And I remember pulling over and just thinking to myself, I need to like get myself together. Okay. Stop freaking out, get it together. And I started saying like, okay, I just surround me with good energy and positive thoughts that I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to be fine. And just as I was getting ready to get back on the road, I heard the seatbelt in the back go click, like if someone had just buckled in. And no one was with me. And I will never forget that. It's funny because I had actually forgotten about that until you said that. And I don't think I've ever even told Kim that. So that was crazy.
Well, Scott, have you ever investigated your car?
Me?
Scott.
Oh, no.
No, but it's a brand new car. We only got it about 3-4 weeks ago. I've never, you know, it was straight out of the showroom about a month ago. So I've never thought of investigating the car. Maybe I should.
Especially if there's claw marks on the outside.
Oh, wow.
It's on the inside of the passenger door. That's the only way you can just scratches or claw marks.
They're really deep gouges, as I say.
We don't know where they came from.
Wow.
Don't have any idea. I'm getting it fixed, mind you. So it's a brand new car, so I want it fixed. But it's little things like that as well that make your mind start turning. You know, is this paranormal? Is there a logical explanation? Is it a faulty sensor? They think, well, if it was a faulty sensor, it would go off all the time. You know, not just when a certain person's in,
smoke alarms.
In the car. Like,
That's
I mean,
interesting.
we've done 2 investigations in here, and after the second one, our smoke alarms kept going off constantly, just totally random. This went on for about what?
3 weeks.
It's 3 weeks, and the engineer came out, and it happened when he was in. Because I think I was sort of telling him a story, and he's kind of looking at me to say, how many beers have you had today, kind of thing. But thankfully it happened. I was kind of nuts. And I says, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. He says, I've been doing this job a long time, and I've never known a system to do that in my entire time I've been doing it. So
but the laughter came through the spirit box as well, remember? When Tiami asked it to stop.
The wee one asked the spirit box on, the wee one asked it to stop, and there was this constant kind of laugh came through it. So, you know, who knows? That's the joy of the paranormal, isn't it?
It literally could just be someone from your past in your life who thinks it's funny to play with you. Like we talked about earlier.
That's been on for about 3 weeks. Now we girls writing at the paranormal, and we obviously put the spirit box on, and she was saying, "Can you please stop setting the smoke alarm off? It's really hurting my ears." And it was just sheer laughter, and I had never heard anything like it in my life.
Oh yeah, someone's playing with you guys. Someone's playing with you. Yep.
Well, that takes you back to the prankster, but a prankster in life, a prankster in death,
That's right.
So,
That's exactly right.
So we've never
You
investigated
just because you leave this life and this shell doesn't mean your personality and your energy changes into the next life. You just move on.
Mm-hmm.
But the way you were here is the way you are there.
Exactly. That's the way I look at it. The only thing we leave behind is our physical body.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's really no problem once we pass over. That's somebody else's problem. Get rid of that.
The energy of who we are, our personality, and the way we are as people, it's all built up in our soul and our energy, and that's who we are as people. When we die, the only thing that gets left behind is the shell, the soul, the energy, the personality, everything about us keeps going. So of course, yes, you're gonna continue to be that prankster or that grumpy guy or whoever you were in life here. Of course.
Exactly. I mean, it happened to me. It was very, very surreal. When my dad passed away, he had been in the hospital, and the doctors, he says, "Will you go home? It'll last tonight." I went home. About 10 minutes later, the phone went, "Your dad's passed away." So I went back up to the hospital, and he was still lying in the bed, and I was standing looking at him, and you could just tell that he'd went somewhere else. Just this feeling that if he just got up off the bed and said, "Right, I'm going into the next room," kind of thing. It's hard to explain that feeling, but that was one of the moments that made me realise, there is something else here. There is something else to this. And it made me sort of want to dig deeper, pardon the pun, dig deeper and deeper sort of into it, But as you say, Jack, it's a personality. If you were grumpy, you'd be grumpy there. Do you think what do you think about the demon thing? You see a lot of these ghost shows and they say, right, it's a demon. It's a demon. What do you think of that? Demon is used too much?
I think that has more to do with show than actual reality. I think that it has a lot to do with them wanting the attention, the credits, the people to be entertained. And I don't necessarily think that it's like everywhere you go. I mean, to be honest with you, my whole life, honestly, I've only come across one case where I would say there was something extremely negative to the point where I would call it even remotely demonic in all the years that I've done paranormal. And I can't even tell you how personal homes, families, business, hospitals, you name it, I've done them. And, I just think I think it's a lot of hype on TV and a lot of people trying to get attention. Because I think that if it was a lot more common, I would have come across it a lot more. But personally, for me, I think it has a lot to do with, now, don't get me wrong. I do believe there is negative and there are demons and there are things out there. Yes. Do I feel like they're coming harder at us now than ever? Yes. Because of the things that are going on in the world.
Yes.
That's what I feel.
I actually have experience with a demon, and demons are rare. If you listen to, like, we had Duncan O'Finian on our podcast, and he goes in and he cleanses people in houses, and demons are rare, very rare. But I have come in contact with something very demonic in my house, and when there's something demonic in your house, because we started seeing hooded figures. We started getting our name called. I started seeing a wisp of black, like a whisk of black smoke, just going by me. And then I would hear my name. You could hear things sitting on your bed. You're being touched, and it's just getting worse and worse. And you start getting the smells in the house. Then you start getting people fighting and fighting and fighting. And then you actually start getting pushed down the stairs. And then people start seeing like growling things. Like my mom, there was this growling, like a hooded figure with a growl that like actually bit her. And she actually has a physical bite. And like a puncture mark, people start getting terrorized. And so the more you're afraid of it, the more fighting, the more negative energy, the more this thing starts growing and building to where we started seeing this thing with claws, and it had red skin, and it kind of had patches of hair. It had horns that went back like this. It kind of walked with like a staunch. And so it started terrorizing us. We had to get out of that house. So yeah.
Yeah, they feed off negativity. So if you have negativity in the home, it's feeding off of it.
So I believe that we picked up this thing, or my ex picked it up in like Zach's museum in the basement. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but and then, or if we picked it up the Goldfield High School, whatever we did, we picked it up, and then this thing just was just, coming after us, or we don't know what it was trying to do. But it was pushing people down the stairs. It was trying to hurt people. And when we moved out of the house, I did a investigation because we were seeing orbs just streaming out of this one room. We actually heard the growling coming from another room. We heard some kind of a demonic talk, really raspy, almost like a demonic talk. And so, yeah, I do believe in demons, and but like I said, those cases are rare.
Yeah.
You don't hear a lot. Gail's got a big question, and then I'll ask you about Scotland. Being a medium, can you predict stuff that goes to
Yes, I do that all the time. Yes.
Yeah.
I actually call Kim quite often. My parents. This actually, I don't know how far back this goes in my family, but this is my dad used to do the exact same thing. Unfortunately, my dad is not doing well, and he had a stroke. Ever since then, he's changed quite a bit with his paranormal, activity. But for me, it's been extremely intense for the past 2 years. I started having dreams the November before we found out about COVID in March of 2020 regarding COVID, what was coming with COVID, what was going to happen to us. And then they started happening even more in May of 2020 and July of 2020, and just kept coming and coming. So it's very interesting because I still have dreams, and sometimes they're dreams of the things that are going on in the world that are happening. And a lot of times I'll immediately call my personal friends and my family, because of course I want to make sure that they're aware of what's coming, prepare yourselves. And sometimes it's interesting. I'll have a really good, positive vision of like things that are going on in the world with like cryptocurrency. So it just depends. Like sometimes it's not great and sometimes it's great. So it's just a matter of like what it is they want to show me. And I usually dream about it. And it's almost like I left my mind and body and I'm somewhere else, and they're showing me like a movie.
Yeah, me too.
What's happening? This is what's coming. Prepare yourselves.
Yeah, me too. We have that in common. We're very prophetic, and we get visions, and we get shown things that are coming, and like prepare yourself, things like that. One thing that I forgot to tell you is when we were having the supposedly demon in the house, whenever we'd go on investigations, the spirit box would say, kill the demon all the time, no matter where we went. It would say, kill the demon. So it's not just that it was in our house. I mean, those things they become attached to you and they follow you around and you know, you have your guardian spirits that are trying to warn you, I believe. So they were trying to warn us through the spirit box.
And a lot of people don't believe in demons. They think it's kind of made up the Hollywood kind of thing, you know, comic book, that sort of thing. But, you know, if you believe in the light side, you need to believe in the dark side. You can't have one without the other.
Right.
You know,
They
a
go
lot of
hand
people,
in hand.
you know, the old yin and yang, you know, and a lot of people either don't believe in it or they choose to ignore it.
They choose to ignore it because they're afraid. This is something that we actually talk about on our show, about how certain things, people are afraid, so they want to block it out. And that's why they don't believe.
And the thing with not believing, it's going to go away until something, you know, happens to them. So, Kim, before we came on, you told us you kind of Scottish ties and your family.
Yes.
We both do, actually. Yeah.
I think Jackie does as well. So Irish, Scottish, and English for sure on my mom's side.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny because in my family, they don't really do it as much as they used to, but when I was a baby, they used to, when you were born, the grandparents on each side would give you a baby doll or something that represented your heritage. And so I have these two little dolls. They're probably about the size of my hand. And one's a little Scottish doll and one's a little Indian doll. And I still have them to this day.
Yes.
The Scottish doll has got a wee white shirt and a wee kilt and a wee hat.
Yep.
I remember them from the long time ago.
Little tiny doll.
They were that size, wee black shoes.
Yes. That's exactly what I have. It's literally about the size of my hand.
You can still buy them. You can still buy them in Edinburgh. And
I've always had it. I still have it. It's in my closet. I'll have it forever.
It's they used to be every little girl when I was a kid. That's what they get given for their gran. Your gran always gave you a Scottish doll, and so when I went home,
that's right.
You know,
Jackie, guess who their guest is next week?
Who?
Rick.
Rick McCollum?
Rick.
I love it. Rick's we love Rick. Rick's a really good friend of mine and Kim's, and we absolutely love him. We just went to visit him.
We wanted to do that whole Scottish tour with him.
Yes.
But
we've got Rick coming in with Jim Martin, Sophia, Ted Perilli, and Patty Negri. They're all coming on the same panel because they've all worked together in different, at different times. So we kind of thought, why not try and bring them all together at the same time? So if you're free, ladies, and you're welcome to join. So whereabouts in Scotland would you love to go? Have you got a particular spot in Scotland you'd love to investigate or visit?
Yes. Is it the Wren Chateau or whatever the Grail Castle or you know what I'm talking about? They featured it in the Grail movie with Tom Hanks. What's it called?
Oh, Rosalind Chapel.
Yes, Rosalind Chapel. Have you been there?
I was there years and years ago. It's just outside Edinburgh. It's a beautiful, beautiful building. It was Da Vinci Code with Tom Hanks it featured in.
Oh my God, yes.
Right? That's my dream
Tim
place.
and I are dying to get to Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're just a plane ride away, aren't we, basically? Yeah. It's a long one, but you'll get here, What are you, Jackson?
Jackie's working on her passport.
Yeah, I just applied for my passport, so I'm waiting for that to come in.
Well, as soon as it comes in, then I don't know how restrictions are these days,
how's the COVID over there? What's going on with COVID?
You're better asking Sarah. She reads more than I do about it.
I think think it's still pretty much about.
I think the vaccines have done a lot to help it, but it's still, I don't think it's ever going to go away. We do like discussing it. I know the numbers have certainly dropped as far as we know.
For a long time, but I think gradually now they're starting to climb back up.
Last year,
the crazy thing here in the U.S. is the people who are getting COVID are the ones who are vaxxed.
It's the same over here.
That's what's happening here. I've had my two jags. They're talking about a third one.
A booster,
but no, I'm not interested. I've been done twice. I'm a happy man. You know what I mean?
Well, what about people who don't get the vaccine? Are they allowed to come into the country?
Okay.
At the moment, I think yes, but for a lot of nightclubs and events where there's, I think it's more than 100 people, you've got to have your 2 vaccinations.
Oh, okay.
I mean, some of the rules here are quite silly. We were out a couple of weeks ago and we went to a bar, and walking into the bar, you need to wear your mask. But as soon as you step into the bar, as soon as you cross that door, you take your mask off.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
That's how it is here.
It's so interesting. I've never understood, like, what's the point of, like, when you go to the airport and you're standing 6 feet away from each other with the mask, but then you get on the plane and you're 6 inches away from each other. And
you don't need to wear it. It's just, it's nuts, but it is what it is, So we've got 5 minutes left. So before we sort of end it tonight, ladies, you want to tell everybody about your channel and how they can find you and watch you?
I'll let Kim talk about it.
Well, you can find us on Facebook under Midnight Gypsies, and then we have, that's where you can find us. We have a web page. But if you go to Midnight Gypsies, you can find our links and everything. But that's the first place to find us is Midnight Gypsies.
Yeah.
And I'm Kim Russell. That's Jackie Harmon. You can shoot us a friend request. We would love to be friends with everyone over there.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Then, we're always looking for people to put on our podcast as well. We're really trying to reach out to the UK and over there where you guys are. So anybody that's interested, just go ahead and shoot us a friend request and like our Midnight Gypsies page.
Yeah. And you guys are going to have to come on our show next.
Sir, just throw us a couple of dates and we can certainly work it out. That's not it'd be a pleasure to come on. But I'll keep a hold of you for a couple of seconds after we come off. So we'll wind up here. So thank you very much, ladies, Kim and Jax, for being our very first guests on our very first show on the Things Network. It's been really enjoyed it. It's been a quick hour and a half as well. But we're back next Thursday, folks. Thanks to everybody that's come in. We hope you've enjoyed it. We're back on next Thursday. But also there's going to be more shows on the network between then and now and then, I should say. So thanks everybody for watching, and thanks very much, Kim and Jackson Midnight Gypsies, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Thank you.
Everybody, thanks for having us.
It was a pleasure.
Sure was.